Welcome to Life Burst Summer Series. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Matt. We're delving into the stories of everyday people, and today we've got a treat for you. I loved sharing with these guys.
Yes, Dancing Dan, or Dan, as he's known, he does love to dance, but he also shared really deep parts of his life with us as well. Some real challenges that he's been through and how he's overcome them. This is Life Burst. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Matt. It's great to have you with us for another episode of the show.
Now, we're going to start off by talking to Dan. Dan, the dancing man? Is that what they call you, Dan?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Or just Dancing Dan.
Dancing Dan.
Excellent.
Okay.
We've also got, we should acknowledge we've got Justin in the studio as well. We'll hear a bit more of some of his story later on.
Now, I'm going to start with the obvious. What's on your shirts?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Freestyle Dance Ministry.
Okay, what is that?
Well, if you keep watching, you might find out a little bit later.
Okay.
Oh,
There's a teaser.
Suspense.
very
Teaser.
good. I like that. Okay, where did life begin for you, Dan?
Well, actually, Sarah, quite similar to yourself. I grew up on a farm in McLean Flat near Chunga, so south of Adelaide. And I had pretty much everything like catered for me, everything that a child could need or want, and to have the healthiest and happiest life. 3 brothers, a lot of land to wrestle and make cubbies and play and all these kind of things. Loving parents, a great community, opportunities for sport, a cute little primary school that was very catering to our needs. So life started pretty perfectly, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you have some great stories of those growing up years? It sounds like a little bit of a country setting. So possibly the freedom to do some things that city kids don't get to do.
Yeah. Like, as our front dam, so the one in front of the house, was drying up at the beginning of summer, and it was leaving a residue of a bit of water, but a lot of mud. And so there'd be times where we would strip down to our jocks and go for like mud fights and like completely cover ourselves head to toe with this cakey, icky mud, and then fling it at whoever came near, including our parents.
Yeah.
Wow.
We may have got in trouble for that.
Yeah, right.
I'd imagine so.
But you can't not, when it's right there.
Well, that's fine. It's too tempting.
What other things did you get up to with your brothers?
Well, playing armies out in the scrubland, we would build these little like teepees or out of sticks. We got these secateurs and make paths through these thorny bushes, and so occasionally would get spiked, but it was worth the effort because the results were these secret tunnels that could like launch us right near the enemy base. And so when it got dark, we would get our camo on, it would dress up in black, and we'd go for it.
Amazing. So it's a real beating the bush boy activities as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't the bravest kid though. Like I was often scared of like a lot of different things in life. And like I would keep my distance very far from playing footy because I was small, timid, shy, and I just figured that if I was out on the field, I'd get crushed. Even motorbikes, even like I had a bit of a love-hate relationship with them because we had a Pee-wee 80, but when I was a little kid, that was quite big and it had a power band on it. And so if you just held it in the one spot, like, and just take off, a couple of close calls, some injured parts like fingers and legs and things. But all in all, it's a great place to grow up.
Yeah, right. So sport possibly wasn't your thing then. Did you have interests back as a kid, things that you really loved to do outside of playing with your brothers?
Well, there probably wasn't like too much outside of family life because we did a lot together. But yeah, I did like bits and pieces, like I guess in like most facets of life, in the creative art, craft, and music. I did like tennis and a bit of sport here and there. I wasn't the most competitive though, but I did enjoy running around.
What did your parents do when you were growing up, living in McLaren?
Um, a lot of time looking after us, rounding us up. No, they were like very supportive and very loving and very catering to opportunities and events. Like actually, perhaps, well, it's a bit funny. Like I think out of my parents, the one who is like most like romantic in like for the family was my father, because he would take us all out on these dates as a family where we'd go for a bushwalk or go for a camping trip. And it was, I didn't realize it until like maybe 20 years later, but that was a very special thing that he did. He would plan out all of these times, like prepare with snacks and with the routes that we're going to take to get here and there. And we had like the best memories from that, like breathing in the natural air, like bonding as a family. And us kids, like we wouldn't know where we'd be going, but would know that it would be good.
You had that trust in your family and that relationship and their bonds that will never leave you because of that. What else did you get up to outside of school and failing with motorbikes and not wanting to play sport?
Yeah. Well, yeah, like the trust and like the bond of family, I was really tight. So I didn't want to do or venture too much outside of that. And being like quite shy, and like definitely on the shy end as a child, I was timid about trying new things. But if my brothers were into it or my parents strongly suggested it, like playing the piano, even though I wanted to give up. But after a while, I found a groove and just doing tinkling myself and making up songs, and I realized, oh yeah, this is cool. I enjoy this. But yeah, I was ambitious. Always, I had lots of ideas. A bit of a ideas man, not the most practical though. And so after I finished school, I embarked on an engineering degree.
Right.
And I pretty much completed like most of the first year. But then life took a bit of a different turn, one which I didn't want nor expected.
And what was that? What happened?
Well, my health declined.
Right.
As you know, the field, Sarah. And it was a gradual decline. At first, I just noticed that I couldn't like focus in or be as attentive with my studies as I would have liked to. And I think like feeling a bit lost, perhaps a bit directionless. Like I was out in the adult world and growing up in such a safe bubble, like on this like rural property, and having everything like catered for me, and me now having to grasp the bull by the horns and to pave the way for myself. I was kind of failing with that, but also an underlying health issue, which I didn't know what it was at the time.
Wow.
What was happening? What changed? And how did you find out exactly what was going on?
Well, I started feeling quite despondent because I was always a very high achiever, and I would get pretty sad if I even just got a B. I wanted to always like hit the top marks. And I thought, well, maybe like my vision is failing. Perhaps I need to like my vision of my future. Perhaps I need to like change courses. But I tried that, got into a different university, but it didn't fix things. And I just wanted to be fixed. I just wanted to be back to my usual self. And my brothers are growing up. There's different dynamics with the family. There's some like strains and pressures that the family were now enduring. And so I didn't feel as like hugged into that or nestled. It's like, I've got to search something out. And like together with my parents' help, we visited naturopaths, doctors, trying to get at the root cause of what was ailing me. I could never really pinpoint something. But then about a year and a half later, like that's when my life changed dramatically. A big chasm formed and would always be known as a before and after moment, because I just broke.
Okay, we totally have to stop there and go to a break because I really, really love this. And you guys did the suspense thing before, so now I get to do it. We'll be back with more of Life Bursts with Matt and Sarah straight after this. This is Life Bus with Matt and Sarah, and we're having a chat with Dan, and I have turned back and done what they did to the rest of you on them. So we've left at this really suspenseful part. Something happened, and then everything changed. What changed? Take us on the journey.
Well, what I had in this moment was a crisis. It was a mental, emotional, spiritual, physical breakdown.
Wow.
I lost about 90% of my capacity and probably about 98% of my childhood memories. I was stuck in this very narrow mental window where I couldn't figure things out. I had constant paranoia, anxiety. I lost my identity of who I was, and I could barely function. Like my motor function was very poor. And even like communicating with others, I could barely manage. Sometimes I just couldn't even get the words out, and I didn't know what was happening around me. I lost my grip on the world, and it seemed as though every bit of information was just floating in the air. I didn't know how it was placed, and I didn't know where to put it. I didn't know how to make sense of it. It was quite a sudden like chasm that was caused in my life, and I thought I'd never be normally functionable ever again.
Wow.
Is there a name that they put to that? What you were feeling and what was happening?
There's been lots of different like names and diagnoses which people have like grappled with, and sometimes I wear them a bit like as stickers on me, but then feeling as though I was being identified by that or because of that, like, was difficult at times. And because it is quite a vague or a difficult thing to explain, and there's lots of different names it could be, but I call it just a complete breakdown.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. So life completely changed for you in that moment. You lost 90% of your energy, but at a certain point, how did you grapple with that? How did you come through that and start to see light again?
And I want to add something on top of that.
Yeah.
How old were you?
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I was about 19.
Okay.
Yeah. And in answer to your question, basically not well.
Okay.
Like, I didn't cope well. I like nothing I did from that point was neat and tidy like my life beforehand. I wasn't determined, or I didn't have this strength within me. Like, I was very vulnerable, weak, and I hated the position I was at, and I hated myself. So I was in a very dark place. And my journey in recovery was just as messy. I was literally stumbling, fumbling, tumbling along, trying to get back to where I was before, to find my strength, to remember who I was, to regain capacity. But I was grappling in the dark so much. And it took a very long time for me to come to terms with what had happened. I just wanted to be rescued, to be like plucked up and placed somewhere else. And every night before going to bed, I would walk outside, even on the chilliest of nights in winter, and look up at the stars and be like, God, are you there? I need your help. Come rescue me. And I felt as though my words were just fading off, and for a long time unlistened to, unheard. And then, God, I believe, has a bit of a cheeky sense of humor. And in the way in which I wanted him to respond to me, he didn't. He didn't just pluck me up and place me with everything rosy and perfect again.
That's too easy.
That's right. Yeah. Well, actually, that's exactly right. He dignified me with an opportunity to walking through the hardship and to becoming stronger, journeying with him and with others, and finding aspects of his character, seeing in other people and within myself. And so basically, he gave me an invitation to walk with him, and it wasn't going to be easy, and it wasn't, and it was hard, and it was fraught with even like more pitfalls and dangers and traumas. but I've gotten through, or at least most part. I still walk metaphorically with a limp, and I struggle on a daily basis. But there's greater like freedom that I experience now.
Wow. So what kind of period, I know you say you're still walking with a limp, but what kind of period of time are we talking where you really were down and out? Are we talking weeks, months, years, where until you got that sense that you're going to get through?
Yeah, thanks for asking about context. I always leave things out.
No, that's, yeah.
Okay.
So it's about 5 years where I was like completely out of action, housebound. I lost like most of my friends, and I couldn't study. I couldn't achieve anything. I was in a pit of depression for all of that time.
Wow.
And hating life, and beating up on myself a lot. And it wasn't until my parents were planning to make a sea change up to Queensland, and I figured, well, perhaps this is a good like breaking point for me to to fly out of the nest at the ripe old age of 25 or something, and moved into a bachelor pad, which must have been quite comical for the other 4 guys, because I was quite a dysfunctional mess, and I'd grown up in a bubble, and I didn't really know how the world operated. I was very naive and very hurting and very broken. But a few of them in particular have stuck at it with me for the long haul, and they saw something in me which I didn't. And that's basically has been what I can testify so often, is that many people have spoken encouragement and strengthened to what they can see deeper in, even when I can't.
Wow.
Right, we all work together with our different gifts and our different abilities to be able to bring hope to others who might be in those dark places. How did you know you were in those dark places? How did you feel? What was going on inside your head and inside your body?
Yeah, well, good question. Growing up, like I mentioned, having everything provided for me on a silver platter, and I was very blessed. I was very fortunate, but along with that, I was also very naive and even arrogant and self-righteous, because I was an easygoing kid, friendly, like kind, but a lot of that was on the surface. A lot of that was me projecting because I wanted to be seen as like the good kid, like ticking the boxes, doing well, because people would be pleased with me. And that became part of my identity, which was a bit misplaced. And so I would try to perform to fulfill that. But it wasn't until everything crashed around me and I got to see little bits within my heart that were actually dark and that were judgmental or condemning of others. And I was confronted with the fact that I'm actually not like that good kid that I always thought I was, that I need God's grace just as much as anyone else. But I found it so hard to receive forgiveness from others and from my maker. I felt as though I was worthy for the sickness and worthy for the darkness that was enveloping me, because for the first time I'd become like familiar, like the doors of my heart were opened, and I realized, gosh, I don't like that. That's ugly what I see.
How did you overcome that?
Well, that definitely wasn't in a one-off event. And it was learning the art of receiving forgiveness. And I think the persistence of others in offering that, and in their unconditional love in accepting me and receiving me in my broken state and in my mess. But I guess I was quite stubborn and I was a bit of a hard case to crack. Because growing up in a space where I thought, oh yeah, I'm great. Like I'll be an example to what a good person is like. But then realizing that no, I'm not. I'm not that good person. I'm just like everyone else, and I don't like what I see. Yeah, others saw something in me that I didn't.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Well, thanks for your honesty. This is Life Bursts. We are chatting to Dan, and there's more to come.
This is Life Bursts with Matt and Sarah. Dan, you have taken us on a very deep journey into how you were feeling. And we've talked about sort of how you came out of that. We've covered it a little bit. But how did your life shift and change once you started to see the light, I suppose, out of the darkness?
Yeah, well put. I thought that my life would be going this way, and I had lots of ambitions, dreams, and things that I thought I would be able to achieve. You're being very ambitious, but it went in the complete opposite direction.
What were those dreams and ambitions and goals that you had on this path? Yeah.
Well, I wanted to make like big changes in the world for the better, particularly in developing countries and managing water resources. And so I went into civil and environmental engineering at Adelaide Uni. And the physics and the maths was a bit harder than I thought when I was looking to being out on the field. But I never would have picked this other route, which I was forced to go down. But now I can say that I'm glad I did, because when this crisis happened, when this chasm like split my life in two, it was the worst thing that could have happened to me, but also the best thing, because it broke me down, which meant it broke down my self-righteousness, my judgmentalism, how I thought that I was like superior or at least better than others. It humbled me. And a bit like rocks, when they're ground up, it becomes like nutritious matter for plants to grow in. And so there were some seeds that were planted within this fertile soil of my soul. And it took me on a weird and wonderful path. Like particularly when I was 27 years old, I was in a prayer meeting because all I wanted to do was just connect to my heavenly daddy. But I couldn't use words because they're all tangled up inside of me with the trauma. It was locked in different compartments. Or a sentence was a bit like a piece of string that a kitten had played with for 2 hours, which is all tangled and messy, and who can be bothered to untangle that? And that's how I was feeling. And so I couldn't pray anything. I couldn't use words to articulate. But then this strange thing happened. After my despondency about not being able to participate, and after feeling even more rejected, I allowed myself to be quiet in my spirit and just to listen a bit, to incline myself to the atmosphere around me, which was beautiful because there was a couple of people playing acoustic guitar and singing. After a bit of time, I felt this peace and love kind of like wrap over me, and it quelled my spirit, and it led naturally, spontaneously, with my arms moving in response to the music, just gently and artfully, a bit like this. And I was thinking, this is a bit weird. Like, what's kind of happening? Like, I could control it, I could stop it, but I didn't want to, because for the first time in years, I felt a connection to my heavenly maker. I felt that God heard me, and he was listening, and he was there with me. So that actually was the seed within my fertile, broken up soul that first birthed this gift of dance.
Right. Okay.
Right. I want to know more about this prayer meeting and these people. So were there people praying for you during this time? Were there people around you who were helping you in this way to help you get out of this dark place for this thing to happen that you didn't want to stop but was happening anyway? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was a nurturing environment. And I didn't know, I don't think I knew any of them like very closely or very
Okay.
well,
Yeah.
but it was a space that everyone was welcome and any age and and from any background. And and so I did feel welcomed and I did feel supported. I did feel that I could be expressive, even in like weird ways, without being judged. Even though at that stage I was kind of over feeling too self-conscious because my mess and my brokenness would leak out of me in everyday life anyhow. And so I was used to being people remarking about that or feeling judged by that. And because I was in such a hard place, which I really wanted to get out of, I'd be willing to do more radical things, like to break through that, because life sucked pretty big time. And there were some golden moments within that, particularly like, well, pretty much always when there would be personal connections with others. In fact, one of the things which I hold like most dearest and nearest to my heart is the gift of empathy and in truly like feeling and hearing how someone else is going. And it all started when someone came to sit next to me when I was at a swimming pool, and I was feeling pretty despondent. I was feeling a bit too cold to go in for a swim, but and I was a bit surprised that they would even want to come sit next to me. It's like, don't you know that I'm a bit worthless? Like, I don't have any value. My self-esteem is right down there. Why'd you sit next to me? But they just started to open up. They wanted to share. And I felt valued and I felt as though I had some worth. Well, I must be a worthy human being if they're talking to me. And so I was using my ears. Then after hearing their story, I was moved. And so naturally, tears came rolling down my face. And I love it. Empathy, ears and tears.
Yeah, beautiful. So back to the dance. So you had this experience of movement as a prayer, really, and a connection. Did you immediately go from there and think, right, I'm going to explore this and take this and do something with it? Or how did you evolve into, well, a step towards where you are today and your love for dance?
A great question. Well, this is one of the things which I did take the bull by both horns.
Right, yeah.
I'm like, sweet, a connection, something which I feel like I can express how I'm feeling and without too much effort, because everything in my life at that stage was hard going and a big effort. Nothing came easy, whether it was like diet or how I'd get through the day even. But when I began dancing or even just moving my body, it was like my mind was in neutral and my spirit, my soul was in gear, and I felt free. And so I thought, sweet, I'm just going to grab every opportunity I can and just dance away. And which included predominantly like prayer meetings and church services. Then also if I couldn't sleep at night, I'll put my headphones in and bust some moves. And at that time I was like living in a communal housing, like a mission base. And the place where I chose to dance had like windows that didn't have any blinds or curtains to the outside. And I think there were some who also couldn't sleep and walked by going, what is this guy doing?
Yeah.
I'm just sad that they didn't come join me to have a silent disco.
What did people think at church of you dancing? Like, what type of church was it?
Well, another good question. Like there was a lot of mixed responses,
Okay.
like quite polarized. And at the time, like, I didn't have stable accommodation, and my life was in a constant state of flux. And so I was living like couch surfing or a bit here and there. And so I would like wherever I was staying, I would like visit a church and participate there. And some people really appreciated me being involved. And others perhaps didn't think it was appropriate me worshipping in that way.
And how did you tolerate that?
Well, should you throw in another suspense? Find out after the break.
Yeah,
a good
okay.
idea.
We did hear that. This is the Life Burst of Matt and Sarah. We'll be back straight after this.
This is Life Burst, and we're chatting to Dan. And Dan, I think most of us have seen people who love dance, and dance is appreciated by some in society, and others, as you've kind of alluded to, find it a little bit unusual or out of place. You've experienced that in churches, as you were saying as well, as you took prayer and I guess worship into dance became more a part of your life. How did that pan out in different places, and how did you grow confidence to push on with that?
Mm. Yeah, that was another example where like things weren't like neat and tidy
Mm,
and straightforward. There was a lot of navigating and a lot of like lessons and things that I was learning because it was a bit like I was given dance as a Christmas present, and as a kid being so excited, I was unwrapping it and learning about it, exploring it, and feeling free, like playing with this new toy, like which dance was for me. But also, like children, like can be um, a little over enthusiastic at times, or there may be like the right times and contexts, like for things to be expressed. So I was navigating the dynamics and where there would be spaces that were appropriate and perhaps where it wasn't. Because even though I have come to understand even greater that that dance like is a beautiful and fun and vibrant expression of worship, um, there is nothing that trumps love for another. And I realized that if I am causing like someone like offense or taking away from like their time of worship in their space, and particularly if they've asked me or if they've asked someone else that if I could dance elsewhere, or then I realized that that is really what Jesus would prefer, is for me to be considerate of others above my own desire, because I could dance anywhere anytime. I don't have to dance in a particular space. And but at this time I was a bit like a man on a mission and thinking, oh wow, this is so much freedom which this dancing is bringing, and perhaps I need to reject this and I have to like speak out my story and make it known. And perhaps I was a little zealous of that, and but I've been learning to be more inclining my ear to others and being more sensitive to how others around me are feeling. And in fact, now, predominantly in worship spaces, I feel drawn and led to be on my knees and in prayer. Um, Sometimes it may come out in a dance, but I haven't gone in with the presumption that I'll be either energetic or very expressive. But I want to be led by God as He's the one who gave the gift to me. I want to steward it well.
mhm. So coming back to what you were hoping to do with life, your big dreams about changing the world and helping those overseas through engineering, that had all ground to a halt through what you went through. But as you were emerging from this and dance was becoming part of life, how did you what did life look like for you now in the day to day? I'm imagining not that you just danced every moment and that that's how it continued. What did you do to fill your days?
Mm. Well, yeah, because I did love to take every opportunity to dance if I
Mm,
could, but of course that it wasn't my vocation
yeah.
and it wasn't my job at the time. Mm. And it was empathy. I was like tapping into a lot and looking for opportunities um, and that I could like connect with others, because I was still in a very broken place, and I was still like unable like to hold down a job. I'll do bits and pieces of work here and there, but my energy being so fluctuating and so unpredictable, um, um, yeah, I wasn't too functionable. But with the energy and the joy that I did have, I did want to like share and connect.
Mm,
And so I'd often volunteer within the church community, um, and also outside as well, and be available if people needed help or a listening ear. And it's whether I was a dorm leader at a camp or having chats and supporting someone who I bumped into out in the parklands who didn't have permanent shelter, then I would just offer like company and friendship. Because having known what it was like to be alone and feeling pretty down, I realized that really life is at its fullest in the company of others and in sharing that. And it didn't matter who it was. I had friends of like every age and every background, and whether flourishing in life or feeling like me that they couldn't get a handle or grip on it. I love journeying with people.
Where were your parents and the rest of your family while you were on this journey?
Well, they were very closely attentive to my heart and to what I was going through. My parents were up in Queensland, which is probably like a safe buffer for them, because if they knew all the things that I was doing, they would probably freak them out. I learnt how to have a good parent filter
Right.
because some of my adventures in journeying with people were quite precarious and were unexpected to me, but not without their dangers. And there were a lot of learning curves which I went through and which I'm like grateful, which I now know a bit more wisdom, but not regretful that I had journeyed with them. But yeah, my brothers, we still love catching up. Like we're close. We have that strong bond and that trust from those formative years, which we all hold precious.
Mm. Wow, quite an incredible story.
Yeah, I know.
I love that there's a real depth to what you're sharing, that you're digging into deep and real maturity that's come through having walked through the tough stuff. You can see that, and your empathy, it comes out as well. Have you got any stories, without using their names, of people that just through you being you and in the right place, people you've been able to help, having that empathy, that their life was impacted in a positive way?
With the parent filter on.
Yes, yes.
They're probably watching.
Sure. Well, there's one that actually dovetails in with dancing.
Right.
And also what I've learned is that this gift of dance, because it was given to me, I don't want to demand like how or when I use it. I also want to be led by opportunities, that if God leads me that way. And there have been some times, I was actually at my brother's house playing board games, and both of you know him, up in Mount Barker. And I was due to go home where I was living at the time in Victor Harbour. And the natural way to drive back would be through the hills, the country. But as I left my brother's house, I had this feeling, this sense that I should detour an hour extra to go by the city. And I had no idea why. And I thought, well, that's a silly thought. But I always give myself permission to pause. So I turned the car off, parked it, and just sat there for about half an hour going, hey, God, is this one of your ideas? Or is this just a silly idea that I should just move to the trash can? I wasn't too sure, but I thought, but if it is one of your ideas, I don't want to miss it. So I did proceed to drive down to the city. And as I did, my energy started picking up. So this was 11 p.m. On a Tuesday night.
Okay, good to clarify that.
Yeah, a bit of context.
Yeah.
And, nothing much happens 11 p.m. on a Tuesday night in Adelaide, as you know. And I was thinking, what is my adventure tonight? And I was getting really nervous.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know the blueprint, I didn't know the plans. But I parked my car in the CBD, and I had my Bluetooth speaker with me, and I thought, may as well take that. And I had this dancing energy pick up. But then I just had this feeling I needed to dance up the main mall of Adelaide, Rundle Mall, to tunes. I'm like, how in public when it's not called for by myself at night and it's a bit of a ghost town anyway, like, no. And I did not want to do that.
Yeah.
But because I felt led to, and I'm like, this is an opportunity where I can choose to overcome my own self-consciousness
Yeah.
and being insecure. And so turned on my Bluetooth speaker,
Yeah.
and as soon as I hit play, all the fear left, and I just started dancing around the mall. Didn't know why
Yeah.
until I got to the other end, and there's an older man who was limping. He was very discouraged, and he seemed to have had a pretty heavy, like rough life, and worn out. But when he saw me dancing, a smile was turned on his dial, and we locked eyes, and we just exchanged a bit of joy. And in that moment, I realized that my Heavenly Father would detour me an hour out of my way on a Tuesday night just simply to put a smile on someone's face. And I was pretty impacted by that.
That's really powerful.
Mm.
That's
That
really,
goes to
really
show
powerful.
how much like God loves each one of us.
Yeah, that's right. Wow, very powerful. And we are going to hear from the other gentleman sitting next to Dan, and the story of this ministry dancing thing all
Yeah.
come together. Okay, you can do the thing. Do the thing.
1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah.
This is Life Fast with Matt and Sarah. Now, Dan, how did you meet the person sitting next to you?
Jumpin' Justin.
Jumping Justin.
Yeah.
Dancing Dan, Jumping Justin.
Yeah. Our crew names.
Excellent.
Nice. Okay, how did you meet each other?
Well, it kind of like followed on from my previous vocation, which was simply just being available and like volunteering in bits and pieces here and there. And so I was down in Victoria and out in the country, kind of in the middle of nowhere, and Haywood, which is kind of near Portland.
Right.
Yeah.
And to support family friends over there who'd lost a loved one. And the next day, Justin was taking workshops at a primary school in Portland. And I thought, well, I'm in the area, and I may as well go check one out. Because we met on a youth camp up in Queensland a couple of years prior, and we exchanged each other's numbers. It was like, hey, you like dancing, so do you. We should keep in touch, see what might come of it. And time had passed, but then he'd given me a heads up, a bit of his itinerary, and I thought, oh yeah, well, I could just check it out. I didn't realize I'd be given a bit of a role as I went to like check out the workshop.
Right, okay.
And I was like learning the dance on the spot with the kids, and then facilitating a small group. I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Am I part of
Wow.
this?
Well done, Justin.
Yeah.
Got to put him to work, yeah.
That's right. If he's willing.
That's right.
He's a good leader.
Right.
But yeah, I felt like honored, and even more than that, like it was so fun. And I realized I want to do more of this. And because Justin had arranged to be like going on this like dance tour around Australia, like with someone else that had just recently fallen through. So there was a space in the van, like a seat spare for me. And so when I heard about that, I'm like, hey, like, can I join? I can't remember if I like volunteered or if he asked me, but either way, it was a mutual agreement that, so I was checking it out one day, then hopping on board the next, literally, and going around Australia 6 months from there.
Wow. Okay.
Right. Justin, what did you think of Dan, and how did you trust him so easily?
Yeah, well, this is the funny thing is when I remember meeting Dan, I remember meeting him in the dance circle. So we were at a camp with maybe 500 or 600 other people,
Yeah.
maybe 400 youth and 100, 200 leaders helping out with this camp. So we weren't camping per se, but where there was a dorm arrangement, et cetera, et cetera. And Dan really stood out because I saw him dancing in a bit of a circle in between. There were people speaking, so we'd come into a main hall, listen to someone to speak.
Yeah.
And then in the, I suppose, interim, Dan obviously had a bit of energy that had to come out. And so Dan got his speakers out and was dancing. And I remember thinking, wow, this guy is just, I've never seen someone dance like him before because it was so original. Like he was dancing as Dan. Dan was dancing. Mm-hmm. And I remember him dancing, and I'm pretty sure I got in there afterwards and busted a few moves
Yeah, you did.
to let him know that I danced too. And
Don't you come in this space.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so we had we'd call that an exchange in the hip hop world. We had an exchange.
An exchange.
And in the cipher, in the dance circle.
Look at these hip words we're learning, Matt.
Yeah, that's right. So and then, we just got talking, and I think we even met up the year afterwards at the same camp. And then I gave Dan a call before Hit the Road. So this was back in 2019 in May, so just over 2 years ago now.
Yeah.
And said, Dan, I'm going to be in Western Victoria, and so you just come check it out, And I just knew I didn't know much about Dan at the time. I just knew he was into dance, seemed like an all right kind of guy, seemed pretty energetic, so something kids might get into. And I just thought, let's get together and see what we can do. And we met at a cafe in Portland, and I said, here, put this t-shirt on. And, it's just 10 minutes down the road, just follow me. And then I said, I'm pretty sure in the car, and I said, oh, hey, you should totally share a bit of a testimony today if you're feeling it. We'll just kind of see how it goes. And so, we're at, it's just a little Lutheran school in Portland. And I'm pretty sure we were just packing up the sound gear afterwards. And I was even showing him, I said, just so you know, this goes here, and almost with the assumption that he was going to be sticking around. And then he was kind of like, oh, so, what are you doing for the next few months? And I said, oh, well, actually, you should, come along. This is what we're going to do. And he was like, oh, awesome. And I was like, I suppose that's it.
Wow.
And so, it kind of, it wasn't, there was a lot of things to learn, and we're still learning a lot about each other and life on the road and how to do that practically, logistically. Because Dan still had his car at the time. And so we were kind of trying to coordinate how this was going to work. And Dan, I suppose, so to speak, he packed up his life, overnight. And so we headed west, into Adelaide, actually, and over the coming months. And, we're on the road till about October, November in 2019.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you've got the shirts. I assume that's the ministry.
That's right, Freestyle Dance
They're
Ministry.
already doing it.
That's the shirt that he had to put on, and he's stuck with it since.
That's right. Well, these are new. These are later.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't have anything quite as jazzy as this at the time. They were just a standard tee. Standard white tee, and so here we go. Yeah, so Dan actually was a mate of Dan's one, Arian. Shout out to Arian, helping us out with these tees. They're a bit less, they're non-sweat or whatever. It's sweat wicking, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and they're a bit easier to wash and dry and da. So,
Nice.
there we go.
Wonderful. Thank you for your information about your t-shirts. And we will hear more of your story next time as well, which I'm really looking forward to as well.
Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that inside of Dan. Now, Dan, in the final couple of minutes of the show, if you had one piece of advice to share with those today, what would that be?
It would be that suffering isn't your enemy. It hurts. No one loves it. You can hate on it. It's not comfortable, and it shouldn't be. Suffering sucks. But as it has done for my life, it was the vehicle or the mechanism to crush down these rocks that were stuck in my flow of being condemning of others, being self-righteous and pious, things like that, so that I would be a plantable field for things that would give life to grow.
Beautiful.
That's lovely. And you're a male and used to plant reference. That's really good. Doesn't happen often, folks. Just saying. Thank you, Dan and Justin, for coming in, and especially to Dan for sharing a burst of your life with us today, and Justin for the sharing of your life that will happen next time. Really looking forward to hearing the other side of the story. Yeah.
Stay tuned.
The real story. Yeah.
This has been Life Burst. You can catch up with us wherever you get your podcasts from, and of course on YouTube and Facebook. I'm Sarah.
And we should say a shout out to our viewers on Channel 44 in Adelaide as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Do the thing. They're going to do the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Life Bursts is hosted by Matthew Karat and Sarah Freeman, with production by Reese Jarrett and Kay Hoshraw Ozadigan. For more episodes of Life Bursts, go to rawcut.com.au. This is a RawCut production.